Okay, here we go. So I put together a little presentation to do two things here. Introduce myself to you, and as you can see, hello, my name is Randy Osborne. And some of you might be watching this online, and some of you in class. But I just wanted you to get to know me a little bit more and know about my life. But I had a second reason for doing this. I want to tell you a little bit about my story so maybe it can apply to your story. How did I get here? How did I go from being that goofy kid on the left, the far left there in the plaid shirt? How did I go from that kid that can't even look at a camera when he was supposed to? I was very easily distracted at that age. My sister's doing it there. You can see she's looking away, and obviously we're probably looking at our mom or something while our dad was taking the picture. She's got an excuse. She's only 2, but not me. I was just one of those kids they'd probably call ADD or ADHD these days. But the other reason I wanted to do this is I wanted to tell you my story. And hopefully my story will encourage you to persevere and stick to your plan and press on and do your best with what you've got. So let me tell you a little bit about me. So first of all, I grew up in a great family. My parents were awesome. My dad was a great guy. I had every opportunity. I grew up in a town called La Cañada, kind of an affluent neighborhood. We had pretty much everything we wanted. My first car was given to me. Yeah, I was kind of a spoiled kid. But in spite of having a great family, my beginnings weren't too awesome for a couple of reasons. I was, as I already said, easily distracted. In class, I constantly was getting in trouble. And I also was kind of klutzy. Bumping into things, tripping over things. Both of my brothers were very popular and very athletic, and I looked up to them a lot and wanted to be like them, but I wasn't as good with sports. I wasn't as popular with other kids. I wasn't one of the first ones chosen when we played kickball or whatever. I was kind of klutzy. I did, however, though, I was popular in the sense that I loved fun and I was friendly. But, when you love fun too much, oftentimes that means you hate work. So I was kind of a lazy kid. I wanted to play, and hated to work or do well in school, which meant all the way through 12th grade, I got bad grades, which when you find out how I did in college, where I pretty much got straight A's, it shows that it was just a matter of effort. So, I was going along in my life. I went to college, and I got a full swimming scholarship, decided not to be a swimmer, changed the pattern of my life, and I wanted to be a youth pastor. I'd had some really great men in my young years that influenced me, and I wanted to be a youth pastor. So I went away to Bible college. I actually became a youth pastor at a very large church. And in spite of all of this great stuff, great family, all of that, there was a time in my life where tragedy struck. I, it's kind of hard to talk about, but when I was 15, my brother there in the middle was killed by a drunk driver in the middle of the night, and the next day we found out that he had been killed. He actually was a John Doe through the night because he didn't have his wallet on him, and he was 19 years old. And it really changed our family. My parents, it made them better people. They dug deep in their faith. They tried to make the best out of life from that point on. But for me and my older brother, it was really, really difficult. Then 5 years later, my mother died of cancer. Then 5 years later, a little bit more, my father died from heart failure. So between the age of 15 and 25, 26-ish, I lost my brother, my mother, and my father. Then, I got married right around just before my father passed away, and that was a great thing. But when my dad died, it hit me enormously, emotionally. And I was, at that time, a youth pastor in a very large church called Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa. And at that point, I couldn't handle. I was a good leader. I was a good speaker, but I didn't have the emotional skills to handle my own problems and the problems of others. So at the age of about 27, I all of a sudden dropped my career, everything I'd been studying for, and realized I just had to start over again. Ended up working at Sports Chalet, of all places, became a manager, and was just trying to reorient my life. But that was my branch creaking aha moment. Some of us, have that. When you're climbing a tree as a kid and you're going up as high as you can go and you put your foot on one branch or you grab one and you hear it start to creak and you're going, oh no. Well, that was my aha moment of, I better make the right choice right now or I'm going to have a disaster. It was a tough time for me emotionally, but what happened was I went back to the lessons I'd learned from my parents. A lot of times we think we know it all when we're that age. And guess what? You're the age, between 18 and 26 was when a lot of this stuff happened to me. Most of you are that age. And you kind of start realizing life isn't as easy as you thought it was, and you're not as smart as you thought you were. And I started realizing my parents were pretty amazing. So I started digging deep into some lessons I'd learned from my family. One of them was, anything worth having will cost you. You have to do your best and work hard to achieve your goals. From the time I got hired as a salesman at Sports Chalet, within 4 or 5 months, I was one of the managers and eventually became the manager of their flagship store. And that's what I was doing when my father-in-law helped me out in changing the direction of my life. I'll tell you about that in a second. Another lesson I learned from my parents is that failure or hardship is a learning opportunity and can lead us to greater success. I had a lot of things. I had to count my blessings. I had a lot of good things in my life. But when all of those hard things happened, you can either become you can get out the wine and cheese and have a pity party and start whining and crying, or you can pull your big boy pants up and figure out how you're going to move forward. Switching your why me to what now is essential to overcoming hardship or failures in your life. Yesterday is yesterday. Today is a new day. And tomorrow you can be a better person than you were yesterday. Another lesson I learned from my parents is that every journey starts with a first step and then another. So I started taking some steps towards a better career and the ability to provide for my family better. When I quit being a youth pastor and dropped my career, my wife was pregnant. And she was pretty amazing the way she handled it, and she was very supportive of me. But can you imagine how my in-laws felt when all of a sudden I said, yeah, I'm going to start all over again. Yeah, I know we got a baby coming. I know we don't have any money. I know we're like barely living, month to month, but we're going to figure it out. Well, that journey started, and I'll tell you about it in a second. I had to just start taking steps. Had to make a long-term goal and taking steps. Lastly, I went back to something my parents had taught me, that gratefulness and a positive attitude make the journey lighter. Well, as I mentioned, my father-in-law was one of the keys to my turnaround. He was an LA City firefighter, and he encouraged me to start applying and doing things that would help me become a firefighter. I applied for many fire departments, and every single time except for one, I was in Band 1, they called it back then, and I was definitely a candidate to get a job. But at that point, they picked people at random, and my name didn't come up for a long time, and I was getting discouraged. I was about to make another career change decision and work for Southern California Gas Company when, at the last minute, I got notice from LA County Fire Department that I was to start in the next academy. Now, I'm so thankful for my father-in-law, who's been a mentor to me ever since my high school years. But when I lost my parents, my father-in-law became like a father to me. And I'm so thankful for that. And what he did for me, I did for my son-in-law. And that's a picture at my son-in-law's graduation when he graduated from LA City Fire. And there's 3 generations of firefighters there. An LA City guy on the far right, my father-in-law, a county guy on the far left, and then Brent in the middle. And I like to joke with them that we're like a firefighter sandwich. They're on both sides. They're both LA City guys. They're like the bread. But, I'm the county guy in the middle, and I'm all the good stuff, the meat and all the yummy stuff. And that's LA County. So we tease each other a lot between city stuff and county stuff. But when it comes right down to it, we're all proud to be firefighters. And I'm thankful for my father-in-law. It changed my life. So after that, things really, really got better. And so I just want to tell you a little bit about myself, some fun facts about me. And first of all, family, friends, and faith are 3 essentials in my life. My wife and my daughters, and now my grandkids and my son-in-law, they're all very, very important to me. And I've been very blessed to have a lot of friends. This is a group of young men on the bottom right of this picture that I was a mentor to. My son-in-law is the one right next to me. I'm on the far left, and then my son-in-law, Brent. And I supported him and was a mentor to him as he pursued being a firefighter. And as you know, he got LA City. The guy next to him works for the U.S. Forest Service. Then the guy in the military uniform, he went to West Point, and he was a captain in the Army and now lives in the greater Chicago area and is a businessman. And I've been a friend and mentor to him as well. The guy in the back, he got on with LAPD and, again, supported him, mentored him. The next 4 guys, they all were pursuing fire careers or police careers. 3 in the... just not the far right guy, but the other 3, they all got the background, but something came up and kept them from getting the job. And, that's kind of discouraging, but they've all got great careers and they're all doing really well. The guy on the far right, he went to College of the Canyons, went to their fire tech program, was going to be a firefighter, changed his mind, decided to be in benevolent work. He worked for the Children's Hunger Fund, but then he had 4 or 5 boys. I forget how many boys he's got. He's got a tribe, a full basketball team, I think. And he realized he needed a career that would provide for his family. So he went back to pursue the fire service, and he became a fire inspector. He is the fire inspector for Tahoe Fire Department up at Lake Tahoe. As I said, friends and faith are really important. Those are my 3 best friends there in the top right. We're still buddies. We just all went out to dinner just a couple of weeks ago. The guy in the red sweatshirt there, he's a recording engineer. You probably don't know his name, but look it up on Google, Jack Joseph Puig, and see what he's famous for. Maybe you've heard of Green Day, U2, Coldplay, Sheryl Crow, Black Crowes, Counting Crows. He did all the Crows. He was a recording engineer and producer for a lot of very famous people. The guy on the far left is my friend Terry, an landscape architect, and the guy on the far right is my friend Jeff, and we still get together. We've been friends ever since high school. And then on the bottom left there, that's my group from when I was a youth pastor, and that's just a few of them. There was over 250 in our group. And I'm still in touch with a whole bunch of these people. They're still dear friends, and every once in a while we'll have a little reunion and get together. Well, this is a picture about what it's all about. This is the day you want. Graduation day for a fire department academy. Now, it's really great when you graduate from Oxnard Fire Academy because it shows a great accomplishment and it helps you in your pursuit of being a career. But you had to pay for that. This academy is the one where you get paid to go. That's the one you want. And when you graduate, you come out on probation, and that lasts usually about a year. And then when you're done with probation, boy, the step raises start coming, and it changed my life. Within about 2 years, we bought a home, moved out to where I live now in Santa Clarita, and really were able to pick the lifestyle we wanted to live. A couple highlights of my career. So I was a patrolman. A patrolman drives a little pickup truck, is a firefighter usually, and they're kind of a wildland specialist. Maybe not as much as a camp crew foreman or something like that, but their job was to know the district, to know the area, to know every little dirt road. The pickup truck, it had 100 gallons and a little pump and 150 feet of hose or something like that. But it was a great job, and what I liked about it most is I was independent. I'd check in the morning and talk to my captain about what the day involved, and then I'd go off and be on my own for a lot of the day. After that, I was a paramedic, and I was a paramedic for over 4 years, and I really enjoyed doing that. And in this picture here, you can see that's me laying on the ground. That's my butt there. And this was a survivor of a plane crash. We were able to get this woman out. If you look real closely, next to the shadow, there's like gray dirt. That's where all the fuel from this plane dumped on the ground. And we were laying in fuel. So I told those guys, be careful. Don't cause any sparks or we're in deep trouble. And we had to extricate this woman that was laying there with this plane all collapsed around her. She had a C5 fracture, but we did everything right. And not only did she survive, but she walked again. And so saving a life, it's the most rewarding part of being a firefighter. You could see there I was an engineer both on trucks and engines. I was on a hazmat team, and I was also a fire inspector. And here I am receiving my engineer's badge from Chief Freeman. And I tell you what, being an engineer is the best job in the fire service. A lot of people, they aspire to be chiefs and captains, and I understand that. Better money. You get to be the person making the decisions and all of that. But boy, I loved driving a fire truck. I loved being responsible for the fire engine. I loved being the pumper. And, it was just a super, super career. And I loved it. So it kind of took all the motivation of pursuing being a captain. So I was going to, take the test and see if I could make captain. And I was in the process of that when I went into fire prevention. I went into fire prevention for the last 4 years of my career, and I was studying to be a captain when all of a sudden another tragedy struck. So, no, I'm sorry for this disgusting picture, but that's not man porn. I wanted you to see what changed my life again. Another disaster in some people's eyes, but I always see things as opportunities. I was going to have shoulder surgery, and right about when I was going to go in for surgery, they had a doctor check me out, and that doctor said, "Hey, I hear something wrong with your heart. You need to go see a cardiologist." And I went to see the cardiologist, and he says, "Yeah, I hear that too. I think you've got a problem with one of your valves. We're going to do an echo." And they had me do an echocardiogram, and they looked at my heart, and he got the results, and he looked at me, and he says, "Well, Mr. Osborne, you're not going to have shoulder surgery. You're going to have open heart surgery either soon or sooner." And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Yeah, that's the way it is, dude. You have got an ascending aortic aneurysm and a bad aortic valve." So I ended up having to have open heart surgery. And, in a sense, you could see it as a tragedy because LA County Fire Department said to me, "Yeah, Randy, we're glad that you survived this and that you found out that you had it and it saved your life. but you can't be a firefighter anymore because of, this has changed you, and you can't respond to the big fire or to the earthquake or whatever. So I was pretty depressed about that. I had 23 years on, roughly. I was just a little short at 23 years. And it was, it was a challenge. I was pretty down. And one of my friends was not at all like me. He wasn't a person of faith, but I was kind of giving him my little pity party and telling him about, I can't believe the county is making me retire, and I can't believe this is happening to me. It's going to be so difficult for me financially, and yada, yada, yada. And he looked at me and he said, Randy, I've always respected you as a person who has faith and believes in God. And I said, well, thank you. And he said, it seems to me you should be thankful because this thing saved your life. And I was blown away by that statement. I realized how I'd been looking at the whole thing wrong and had forgotten the lessons I learned earlier in life. And I needed to ask myself, what now, instead of why me? So I went back to those life lessons I learned from my parents. And I, tried to believe that I could start all over again. And, like I said, any journey starts with the first step. So I went back and I got my AA in fire tech. I started applying for fire departments to be a civilian fire inspector, but then one of my friends said, Randy, I think you'd be a good teacher. I know you teach at your church. Why don't you teach here at College of the Canyons? And so I got a job there at College of the Canyons and started teaching fire technology. I continued to get my own education, and I pursued getting my bachelor's, and then I heard about an opportunity down at Oxnard, and I applied there and was fortunate enough to get a job working with all of the gang that I love so much at Oxnard College. And, one step at a time, I just found a new path, a new way. And I'm so happy being a teacher. It's really changed my life. So I went back to school, as I said, and then when I finished my AA, I just kept going. And at the age of 59, I graduated with a bachelor's degree. I started when I was 18, but it only took me a little over 40 years to finish. But at the age of 59, I got my bachelor's degree. So as I said before, I'm a teacher at College of the Canyons and at Oxnard College. I was teaching state fire marshal classes. Actually, I'm not going to do that anymore. But I am going to start working at a third school, Mount Sac, and doing online only. Some fun facts about me is I was on Wheel of Fortune. That's me with my daughter on the far right. Excuse me, I had to take a drink. That was a really fun day. We won a trip to Jamaica, man, and it was really fun. You know what? My life has been all about taking care of my girls, and now, I gave my daughter her dream wedding. It broke the bank. I'm still paying for that. And then my younger daughter, she loves Disneyland. That's her on the far right. Emily has spina bifida. She's she's handicapped, and I mentioned that earlier. This girl, in the first year of life, had 9 surgeries, and as of today has had 22. And yet she has a positive attitude. She works hard. She works at a daycare. She's just one of my greatest friends, and she lives here with Mom and I, and we just love having her here. Her favorite thing in the world to do is go to Disneyland. So every once in a while you hear me going, well, I'm going to Disneyland. Yep, it's her fault. She's the one that makes me do it. But, if I'd have known having grandkids was so great, I would have had them first instead of kids. No, I'm just kidding. That's impossible. Grandkids are the best. I love being a grandpa, and these are my 4 grandchildren. Far right is Lane. He's the oldest. Then Cora. Then Hazel and Ann. So, I thought I would just show you one picture of the 4 of them and make this shorter. And those of you who've seen my presentation before I changed it, this is a new presentation. Well, I showed you a whole bunch of pictures of my grandkids, and I figured, maybe they don't want to see that. But then I thought, no, I do want to show them those pictures. So, sorry, you might be bored already, but I just want to show you my grandkids and tell you a little bit about them. This is Likeable Laine. I just love this boy. He's positive. He's fun. He and I love to play games together. We go shooting. We get out the BB gun and shoot in my backyard. He's joining the swim team, so I was helping him learn how to do the butterfly and stuff like that because I was a swimmer too. And then there's I used to call her Crazy Cora, but I don't want to call her crazy because she's not really crazy. She just likes craziness. So now I call her Craziness Cora. She's silly. She's fun. Look at how she dresses on the right. She just loves to get dressed up, and she loves to dance. She loves drama. She's fun, and she's funny, but sometimes she's a little kooky. But she's just loving life. And then there's Happy Hazel. And as you can see here, Hazel's our little athlete. She's a gymnast, and she's very rapidly improving, and yeah, maybe she won't make the Olympics, but I think this girl is going to do really well in gymnastics, and she's just a wonderful kid to be around. I just love her. Last but not least is Anne, and Anne loves animals. So, she's a crack up, she's funny, she's fun, but not only she loves animals, she loves dinosaurs. How many kids put dinosaurs in their dollhouse? That's Anne. That's what she does. She's pretty kooky. My wife is the best part of my life. She's always been supportive. We've been married 40 years now. In both of these very difficult times of my life, it was Lori that stood behind me saying, we can get through this. I'm with you all the way. And let me just tell you guys, I know we're almost done here, I promise. Relationships, family, they're the most important thing in the world. And, it's really, there's a lot of selfishness in the world today, and it takes selflessness to have a good marriage to last 40 years. You just have to support each other. You have to work together. My wife is giving. She's supporting. She's always been with me. She's not afraid to share a different opinion, but we work together and we choose things together. And she's kind of quoted a verse from the Bible, where you go, I'll go. Your God will be my God. We'll be together no matter what. And that's the way it's been. And she's the best part of my life. People tell me all the time, how'd a guy like you get a girl like her? I definitely married up. I love music, and that's one of my guitars. I have a couple guitars. I don't play that very much anymore. I'm not very good. I used to play a lot when I was younger, but I still love music. I love going to concerts. Anybody here like to go to concerts? We're going to go to one at the Thousand Oaks Civic Arts Plaza, or whatever they call it, here next week. I just love going to concerts, and I love music. Two favorite places in the world are Hume Lake and Kauai. Been to Kauai 5 times, and we're due to go again. Hume Lake is a place up in the Sequoia National Monument area, and I just love it there. I played sports. Swimming, water polo, and volleyball are my faves, and I just love sports, period. I love USC. I'm a big USC fan. Now, don't you UCLA fans hate me, because I don't hate you. I don't hate Bruins. In fact, one of my favorite people in the world is John Wooden, the most successful basketball coach in men's basketball. He's just an amazing guy. So, I don't hate Bruins. I'm not big fans, but I love the Trojans. Love going to Trojan football. They've got great water polo. Their water polo coach got in trouble here recently. It was in the news. But the favorite thing to do, my daughter and I like to go to a lot of women's volleyball games, and she's become friends with most of the team, and so have I. In a way, she kind of connects with people real well, and they just love Emily. I like women's volleyball way better than men's, because men's all about crushing the ball, and women's is more about sports. And Besides, they're a lot cuter in their outfits. Just joking. Okay, so last slide. Ask yourself, this was my story. What's your end game? I'm 64 now, and maybe as some of you listen to this, I'll be older because I'm planning on using this for a while. But what's your end game? What do you want to be able to say about your life when you're 64, maybe getting close to 65? Well, I want to be able to say I enjoyed my life. And as you can see here, Lori, Ann, and I enjoy life, and we enjoy having fun. We enjoy being silly, and I'm thankful. Not everything's worked out the way I wanted to. There's been some bumps along the way, but you make the best out of what you have. You make a goal and you make a plan and you go after it. So how are you going to get this job as a firefighter? Is that the most important thing for you? Maybe there's another plan. Maybe there's another path. What's your end game? The most important question to ask yourself is, who do you want to be? That's way more important than what do you want to be. So, who do you want to be? This is me. I've told you all about me. Probably way more than you wanted to know. Have a great day and have a great semester. Let's get to it and have a lot of fun.